Okay. Welcome, folks. I want to start us off with just a little bit of musical transition into the space to attune us a little bit, get us joined, at least sonically, on one page. I love this song. It's one that takes me to a place of deep reflection. I want to share that. And I also just want to create like a soft landing space as people come in. You know, it's a weekend, it's the afternoon. I know it can sometimes take a minute to get settled. So if you don't know me, don't necessarily know my face, but may know my name by now. I'm Jahan, and I'll be holding space for visualization for dreamers today. So welcome. Look forward to hearing you all talk in a minute, but first let's just take a moment and listen.
No outside demand.
Hold on.
Like hypnotizing.
I think I did that a little messed up. Hold on. That was not technologically graceful. All right, from the beginning.
In order for a person's mind to expand, it takes great concentration, no outside demand. Like hypnotizing oneself to a certain point, one must relax completely and be free. Tune up, enjoy this tranquil state of mind and body. Tune up, tune up, tune up. Get close to all that's pure and beautiful. Let's tune up, tune up. Life can mean many things to people of all kinds, but underneath it all they have the same minds. It's just a question of one's wants and of one's needs. Seems some can't separate, differentiate at all. Tune up, enjoy this tranquil state of mind and body. Tune up, tune up, tune up. Get close to all that's pure and beautiful. Let's tune up, tune up. In order for a person's mind to expand, it takes great concentration, no outside demand. Like hypnotizing oneself to a certain point, one must relax completely and be free. Tune up, enjoy this tranquil state of mind and body. Tune up, tune up, tune up. Get close to all that's pure and beautiful. Let's tune up, tune up. Life can mean many things to people of all kinds, but underneath it all they have the same minds. It's just a question of one's wants and of one's needs. Seems some can't separate, differentiate at all. Tune up, enjoy this tranquil state of mind and body. Tune up, tune up. Get close to all that's pure and beautiful.
So welcome, to the space. Welcome to this time. Oops, I gotta stop the jig. And I want to just reflect for a quick moment on that song and the ways that I feel like it connects us to this moment and this purpose of gathering today. And one of the things that I enjoy so much about it is that it's not like a typical meditation song, right? It's got that little like funky groovy guitar underneath it. It's got some little chimes in the background. It's something you can dance to. It's something that you can move to, and something that also makes you think. And in my journey of being someone who is a dreamer and has not always lived in, let's say, a dream world, when I stepped into healing and stepped into what it looked like for me to change my world as I knew it, the things that were open were and recommended were a lot of like mindfulness, a lot of meditation, and the ways that that was introduced to me was a lot of stillness. It was a lot of sitting still and being quiet. And that was what it meant to be mindful. That's what it meant to be present. That's what it meant to be embodied that way. And in some ways, that was really easy for me. I've always kind of naturally lent towards a type of slowness and stillness. But what I found was that bringing all the stories that my body had into that space and into those methods and strategies didn't work for me at all. I would get super activated. And one class in particular, I remember I was so shooken up by just what was getting brought up. I just spent 45 minutes in the bathroom pacing. And that for me, the thing that lets me really get to a place of stillness and really get to a place of like integration in a way that feels like it has movement and not just like stopping at insight, like, ooh, now I'm more aware and I'm not going to really do anything with that. But something that makes it feel like it's really moving through my whole system, my whole body, and changing me in the process is dancing, is moving. It's just like free form things. It has to do with a sort of more holistic experience of what's happening. So that's sort of the qualities that I want to highlight in that song, about why I wanted to share it to start. Um, and I also want to pause for a moment to, I guess, acknowledge and honor Amani and Amu in the space and ask if they have anything that they want to share in presencing this particular offering from Decolonization for Dreamers.
Thank you, Jahan. Welcome, everybody. I'll just say I'm grateful to be here, excited to be here with another Decolonization for Dreamers giveaway Moon training session. Here we practice visualization, get into our bodies, and we look for our visions and clarify our visions and many more things, I'm sure. And I've been sitting with the power of vision and sensing it in my body and kind of being in question with what are my visions and how do I hold them and what are my relationships to them, and noticing them somatically, intellectually, emotionally, in the ways that they show up in my life. So just inviting everybody to invite this practice, these places, these conversations into all parts of your life and noticing wherever they most resonate and giving them nourishment there. Yeah. Thank you so much, Jahan. So excited to take this class with you.
Dabi? James or Amu? I'm never entirely sure which.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel grateful for like being part of this class and receiving this visualization, being like led on this journey as a dreamer, and really grateful for you for coming and bringing your gifts to us, and for that song. That song was on point. It was actually exactly what I was needing. So just feeling really grateful to be here and with everybody.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'll do the like quick elevator speech thing about myself. I don't particularly love talking about myself in that way. But I am Jahan. I use they, them pronouns. I come from Tuchinyo Loni territory that is occupied as Oakland, California. And as I've shared, I am a person who walks with a lot of trauma in this world. And some of that has been the places of like conflict and tension between the visions that I have of the world being different than the ways that it is, and moments of me encountering that and the pushback from that, and just engagement with it. And what I've chosen to do with that and have had the good fortune to be able to do with that is become a coach and a counselor and work with people around healing and work with nonprofits around culture shift. And I really just try to kind of get in wherever I can fit in the conversation, because I really believe that, the trauma is endemic that we live in. And so our challenge is to make the healing as endemic as the trauma. And it's through these micro actions that accumulate. So that's me. That's where I come from and my intentions in being here. And I would love to get to know all of you for a minute before we go on the larger journey. So how I'm envisioning the time is that we will get connected as this particular container and have a little bit of a short conversation about what are some challenges that come up with dreaming? What are some of the challenges in even visualizing something different, right? Because before we go into some kind of space of trying to create something, that can be difficult when we haven't really acknowledged maybe what we need to get there. And so being able to name what's challenging, and I'm sure other folks share that challenge, and just get the little bit of healing that comes from shared reality, understanding, being seen, heard, and witnessed. And then we'll do a first round of getting attuned to just the body, what lives in that, in ways that that can sometimes block or cloud when we're trying to see beyond what we know. And then we'll go into what it's like to actually create a space that you can go into and re-enter that's unique to you. This is not a one size fits all. Like there's not one oasis somewhere that everybody goes to and that's their safe place where they feel held and nourished. It can be really different. For some people, it's in the stars. For some people, it's in the ocean. For other people, it's in a tree. For other folks, it's with a beloved animal companion. For some folks, it may be with a human. And that all of that is welcome. All of that is legitimate. All of that is real. As long as it's meeting you where you need to go and where you need to be, that's what matters. So, all of those things being said, the invitation for introducing yourself to this space is to share your name, preferred pronoun, where you are calling from, and to share a movement in your body, or just something that's real right now in your body. And if there are any words that want to be shared to help you feel present, something that you need to say to feel seen or to feel settled, please also share that. And so I will start, model it, and then we'll pass it to the next person. So again, reiterate, Jahan, they, them, Jinyo, Loni, Oakland. And right now, body movement is like this. And I realize I didn't say that out loud, but there's also the invitation to mirror the movement that people make when you see it. So this like drawing down is what I'm feeling. And words are, I actually had, it was really sweet. I was able to spend some time with Tavi in a conversation circle on an end of isolation tour about abolition work. And honestly, I'm feeling a little bit of heaviness from that. It's a heavy conversation. And that's with me on the journey today. And the gratitude. It's like also what an amazingly sweet day and way to be able to spend a Sunday. So with that, I am going to pass it to Lucas. Oh, thanks, Money.
Hey, greetings, everyone. Thank you so much for opening and sharing the space. Hi, my name is Lucas, and I use he, him pronouns. And my body feeling a little sleepy, a little tired. It's a little later here on the East Coast as I'm coming in from Okinichi Band of Saponi Nation lands in central North Carolina. But what I'm feeling for maybe a movement is just really appreciating some of the gestures of smiles and acknowledgement that have already passed around. So maybe I'll just take a moment to find that. And whatever that authentic facial expression is for you, to sit with that and feel into that. And I'm feeling, yeah, a little bit of some nerves in my body through some deepening of like relational commitments with the person here and with some potentialities for this summer. So it stirs some deeper trust in support systems and unseen support systems, and a little bit of my own general nervousness over those things can kind of feel pulsating in my body too. Thank you.
Okay. And tap our next person. Lucas, can you tap our next person?
I'll pass my screen over towards to Brooke.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brooke. I use she, her pronouns. I am here in Mi'kma'ki, Chibuktuk, which is Halifax, Nova Scotia, the traditional territory of the Mi'kmaq. And a body movement that I'm feeling right now is kind of like a swaying back and forth kind of feeling. And I don't know if I have much to say. I'm feeling it's like 8:30 here. I think I'm here with sleepiness more than anything. Yeah, but very glad to be here. And I will pass it to Joanne, who is sitting right next to me.
Yes, it is Joanne. And my pronouns are she, her. You know where I am situated. And feeling for movement. Yeah, I think there's like a back stretch that, like this leaning forward for the screen is revealing that it feels really nice to stretch that out. And yeah, and I think I can just echo Brooke's word situation as well, because we have spent the day together, and so it's all very similar. We did a lot of things, and a lot of it was with our bodies, and so there's a certain amount of tiredness, but not mental. And we did get 13% more comfortable when we joined, so it's working. Thank you. And we can we'll tap Jahan.
All right. Hello, everybody. It's good to be in this virtual circle. So my name is Jahan, and I go by he, him pronouns, and I'm tuning in from the Bay Area at the base of Mount Tamalpais. It's Miwok territory in the North Bay. And my movement feels like there's a big circle that I'm inside of and breathing inside of. And then there's also like in that, this like fluttering and shaking. And then there's this big circle that I'm breathing inside of. And there's also this fluttering and shaking inside the circle. Big circle. And I'm going to pass it to Lisa, Mama Lisa.
I am Lisa. I use she, her, and I'm in the Wichan Ohlone territory in Oakland. And I took a walk with a friend in the hills with views of miles away. So there's an expansiveness, but then also a contraction because she has a lot of challenges with the EMFs and things. So she could not even join us on Zoom. She can't even be on her computer. So it was wonderful to be out. And then it's a sadness that she can't join in with classes and things. But it was nice to be with her and connect. And I will pass to Uncle Don.
Hi, I'm Uncle Don B. Fireland Fanning. I'm here in Tulani, also known as Flagstaff, Arizona, on the side of a sacred volcano that's sacred to many tribes, including the Dene and the Hopi. To the Hopi, it's the home of the Katsinas. It's a very, very sacred place. I identify as he, him, pretty cis in my identification. I was feeling very huggy, but that's lifted. I feel that it's really good to be interactive with people. Oftentimes on Zoom, the interactive part of it is something that's neglected. I guess I'll do that hug thing, which I haven't gotten any of for over a year, except with my cats. And is there anybody who hasn't gone? Is it James? Are we back to Jihan?
Maya shared in the chat. I'm not sure who Yes Certifications is.
So that would be me, Jasne.
Oh, hey, Jasne.
Hi, so I'm Jasne. My pronouns are her and she. I live in the District of Columbia. The body movement for me would be, initially would be, because public speaking is something that I got to work on. It kind of freaks me out still. However, I talk a lot. But I would say in my life right now, it's more of a like this because I'm handling a lot of, or managing a lot of like financial and relational and emotional pressures a lot better than I typically would. So yeah, it's just the speaking part. But after I start speaking, I'm okay. But that's pretty much where I am. And thank you so much for doing this course. It's gonna allow me to be around other people who are comfortable with, you know, visualizing and meditating. So this is good.
Thank you. It's like small fun fact from my life. I really appreciate that that gave me a chance to flip my hair. I've had locks for the last 7 years and I just finished taking them out. So this is, you all are seeing this exposed again for the first time. So I'm like, huh, do that, it's different. Beautiful. And I want to uplift something that Uncle Don pointed out, which is that we don't interact this way very often, especially in these more distracted ways. Hey, Maya, did you want to say something before we move, or are you just shifting your camera?
Just saying hi. I didn't want to not introduce, but I don't want to interrupt you, Jihan. Go ahead.
No, I'm fine. Go ahead.
I'll just I'll add a move. I already said in the chat, but I'm Maya. Hi, I'm glad to be here with you today. I use she, her pronouns. I'm calling from unceded occupied Massachusetts land in near Boston, Massachusetts. And in our Earth activist training this week, we did a really good move. Yeah, this is my little person. Trying to introduce yourself.
It's very slick.
I'm sure he'll be in and out on that side of the screen, but we did a really nice movement with lots of good energy. So I just wanted to share it with you. We reached out to each other like this and you could feel the energy. So that's my movement. You can do it too. Oh, you want to do movement? Quickly though. Hi. Okay. Thank you.
Wave works. Thanks, Maya. And it's what you said is actually totally in alignment and attuned with where this is going to. It's that we can feel things. We exist in a very quantum reality where things that are not localized still travel. We can still be aware of things that are not just happening right in here. And part of what we just did is we actually just synced our physiological systems. So we have these things called mirror neurons. And when we look at people and we're having an experience of like visual engagement, this thing that we just did of reflecting back to each other is healing. It actually is part of what our brains interpret that says that we're safe, we're seen, we're taken care of, that it's okay to be as we are, where we are. And so being able to offer that through something as simple as that, you know, and it can be just a facial expression. It's like you can raise your hand or snap or do whatever. If you've ever had the experience of having a terrible day and you tell somebody about it and nothing in their like visual presentation changes, it's just like, okay, you had a bad day. All right. Or they're like, oh, that sounds terrible. Oh, that sounds awful. Like, I can say, I do not feel particularly safe with that person. I don't feel seen. I don't feel heard. And it doesn't take a whole lot. I think sometimes there's this idea that can stop us before we get to an action, before we get to doing something that is like, if it's healing, it's got to be this big thing. It's got to be everything. We somehow have to like solve the entire ecological crisis, or we're not really doing anything. It's not enough. And so I really want to uplift this piece of just how simple it is to do something that isn't everything, but to do something. And just that it's like, it matters, making those moments for that. Yeah, so thank you all for doing that. And so part of that as well, and this is like the bridge into the next thing, is that it often helps to be attuned to what's happening in your own system, to be able to do that. And sometimes it can be like the complication of us all carrying so much that it can be really difficult to kind of make space for somebody else's story or to take in what somebody else is offering. And so just moving through the world in ways that are kind of more grounded, embodied, where you're really aware of what you're carrying just so that you can kind of know where the line of you is helpful. And so that's why the first practice that we're going to do is really a body scan practice of just moving through the body, getting familiar with what's there, what's being carried. But before we even do that, I want to just take a few minutes to ask, what are some of the challenges that you experience in getting attuned to your body, in like getting attuned to what you're actually feeling? And yeah, I don't want to like answer the questions for you, but I really want to have it be an open thing, that it could be things inside of you, it could be things outside of you, but just that the range is open of what those challenges can be. Yeah, I think for myself also, I'm one of those people who has a narrative about time. It's actually hard for me to like sit and have a daily meditation practice. It's really helpful for me to gather in groups and do it with other people, because I have a story that I never have enough time to sit for as long as I need to actually make the progress that I need to. And then so it becomes easy to like drop it off and push it aside because it just starts to become so big in my mind. So that's one of my challenges in doing that. And it's just popcorn. You can unmute and speak.
So for me,
Uh,
how much would be
Hasne, and then we'll go to Lisa. Okay.
I missed that.
No, go ahead. I was just trying.
No, I was going to say for me, I think a block would be a combination of fear and being overwhelmed. Sometimes it kind of feels like, oh, like if you do this, and what are you going to do if it like actually works? So that's kind of something that gets in the way. And it's just like, no, I'll procrastinate and push it till tomorrow. But yeah, for me, it's definitely like, what if this works? And then when it does work, it's like, oh man, this actually works. And then I start getting this feeling of, being overwhelmed, like it's so much on my plate. So I would say that would be one of my two-sided blocks for me.
Thank you. Mama Lisa.
It's just distractions. There's a lot going on and things to do, and not being determined to settle.
Okay. And Uncle Don.
Sometimes there's things that you got to do and you don't really want to do them. And sometimes those things aren't for you at all. They don't fit your needs. They don't fit your goals. A lot of things like that, I just call them, I clump them together. I call them the death culture because they shut us down. And sometimes they get urgent because you put them off a while. Other times, you're trying not to let them get urgent. And what's really urgent is to be present in the moment, to enjoy life, and to do what you know you need and have to do. Life-affirming things, whether it's activism or planting something or letting somebody know that you love them or sitting and listening. And a lot of those things get really downgraded and it leaves you wanting and exhausted, which means you got less energy to get to the other stuff, the stuff that's really, really, really important.
Yeah. Anyone else in the space to share? Go ahead, Tavi.
sometimes I'm just really uncomfortable in this body. And it doesn't quite feel like mine, and it doesn't quite feel like some place that I have resource or power, and sometimes there's just a lot of judgment that comes up when I bring my attention to my body or into it. And so, yeah, just the kind of flow of criticism and judgment and discomfort can be, overwhelming. Like it makes me want to stay out.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And Mane, I saw you on mute too.
You're good at the Zoom facilitation. Thank you. I'm thinking of like when I move towards something from a place of contraction or trauma, I sometimes don't want to come out of that state, or I can't find the desire. Like I've been noticing this with I was smoking tobacco for a while, and that was part of some medicine and part of some healing, and then became part of an addictive cycle. And it took me a while to like want to drink water again, because I had started to like prefer soda and prefer like things that were less nutritive. And it took me a while to get back to like my kale salads, because I wanted like chips and other things. And so there's this like the things that would actually make me in tune with myself and sensitive and get to that place felt scary. I couldn't even remember them. They didn't seem as interesting or immediately fulfilling as other things. And I noticed how that works in all sorts of different areas in my life.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and the through threads, or some through threads that I'm hearing, is like one, this question of priorities, and knowing that priorities aren't just generated within us. We get told what our priorities, quote unquote, should be. And it is by a culture that is not particularly doesn't have a whole lot of interest in the wholesome well-being of actual humans. It's mostly interested in producing things for money. That's the baseline priority of this culture. And then everything else goes into that. And it's so real that it's all interconnected. And so I think that's part of why it's so important to gather in these ways and have spaces like this. Because once your body starts to know what it's like to have something be different in a way that actually feels better, you'll start to gravitate towards it. Because we're designed to be life honoring and life generating creatures, as creatures that are made of life. It's everything that we come from. And everything that is natural and instinctual to us tells us to go towards life-giving things. But there is this awesome power of familiarity that can really be helpful to us and can also become a stumbling block of when we get in these patterns where we've been taught to not move towards things that are really nourishing for us, to not move towards what's life-giving. And when that becomes what's familiar, then it starts to be hard to let go, even when we do encounter something that we know feels better intuitively. It's just, it's there. It's not a cognitive thing. It's just like the body's like, oh yeah, this is better. I like this more. And it can be hard to still say yes to it. And so the invitation as we take this first journey through the body is to keep just a few things in mind as we do this. And it's part of like a framework of just being able to hold yourself psychically and in a sort of visualized space that you can carry all the time. It's not attached to a visual, but is still a visualization in the sense that it's a framework for reality. And so it allows us to see things and to see ourselves in a certain way. And thing one is that the earth doesn't make trash. Trash is an industrial human concept. It's not real. Everything that this planet makes has a purpose. It's designed to do something. The planet made you. There's nothing about you that is wasteful. You're here for a reason. And that reason has to do with everybody else's reason for being here. And it's ultimately life-serving. So whatever that thing is, or whatever judgment you might have of like, well, my body is supposed to do this, or I'm supposed to do this, and I'm not doing that. And it's from that outside space of like what the world has told you you're supposed to do. Like you're supposed to go out and make a bunch of money. You're supposed to go out and buy a house. You're supposed to go out and have 2.35 kids. That may not be your lane. And that's fine. Yeah, I see your hand, Uncle Don.
I've hung out a little bit here in Flagstaff with a group, calls themselves free thinkers. And to a lot of them, that means they don't believe much in anything. And they don't believe in the purpose thing. So I'm at a poetry reading, and there's a person that I haven't seen in a long time, and she's huffing and puffing. She's had a near-death experience, climbing up this really steep set of stairs that's about a floor and a half straight up. And she's telling me that she almost died. And I said, well, there must be a reason that you're here. And she said, and this made me really sad, she said, well, you forget, we don't believe there's any reason. I'm not sure what I can give somebody in that place. And you want to give them something. I think I said, well, take it kind of metaphorically. It's a reason, there's still things you can do while you're here. But she was basically waiting to die because she saw no purpose. Now, a lot of people who are secular humanists are really good people, really caring people and everything. But boy, did that make me sad.
I feel it. It's like a type of normalized nihilism that I think a lot of people don't even realize that that's functionally what it turns out to be. And because if none of this has any meaning or ultimate purpose or goal, it kind of by definition makes everything a waste of space. And that's a hard way to live. Living is not easy, no matter what you're doing. So you add that on top of it, that is an extra rough road to travel. And without knowing, the specifics of this person and some of their story, there's like nothing I can offer that's specific to that. But I can say that in coaching and counseling and working with people, that framework of like actually grounding humans ecologically, I have found to be really effective at like chipping through that, because there's some way that you can theorize about it when it's just people. But when you actually look at the world and you're like, oh, wait, when we say like ants, we don't even think about them, but they're moving stuff all the time. They provide a tremendous amount of protein to the food chain. That's just like one small example of that. And the examples of it live everywhere. And so when I do any kind of this work, to me, it's really like psychological seeding. In the same way that like we're not going to do all the healing at once, you just like drop a seed in there. And seeds are actually pretty good at breaking up concrete and rough, rigid structures. You just give them time to take root and they'll do it themselves, So it's almost like not actually being attached to necessarily what happens with the other person, but just knowing that you planted your seed. And that's life. It'll grow. It'll do the best it can to grow and break through that. Yeah, thank you for bringing that and sharing that. So yeah, thing one, you have a purpose. It may not always be clear what that is, but you can trust that you have one. Because in this system, it wouldn't even make sense for the planet to just make some stuff. The deserts have a purpose. They're different than the rainforests. The rainforests have a purpose. It's different than arid mountains. Arid mountains have a purpose. It's different than wide, expansive dunes, right? And so that's like thing two is you are not like anything else, and that's on purpose too. Whatever you are, it makes sense for you to be. And what you need, what part of the whole, I believe, in the framework, part of the work is that you need to figure out what your proper environment is. So I loved this because I was just watching, it was like a Korean monk, no, it was Thai monk. And I use this as well in working with people where it's like, if you're a cactus, I don't take you to the rainforest and then be upset because you don't thrive there. It's not what you're made for. That's not what's proper for you. And so getting rid of like whenever that stuff comes in at you and tries to tell you that you're supposed to be or be doing something else that's different than what you feel coming up through you, that wants to be expressed through you, to just be like, oh, that's cool, you just don't understand. You just don't actually necessarily know what I really need. But it's my job to know. And so that's part of why we do the work, is to get attuned to our own inner knowing of what that thing is, so that the rest of that junk doesn't find its way in under our skin in the same way. And to like just wrap up this little piece of it, there is, I know it to be generally a Pan-African saying, but it's that if there is no enemy within, the enemy without can do you no harm. And it took me many, many years to come up with a meaningful understanding of that for myself. But what I eventually got to and noticed was that it was places inside of myself that I didn't feel totally in integrity, that I didn't feel totally secure or grounded in who I was or what I was doing. That's where people's judgments could hook me and start to pull me in different directions and could make me malleable to what somebody else's agenda was, somebody trying to get me to go be in their lane. But that's not what's right for me. And I could feel it, you know, but I didn't necessarily know. And I would just be like, how did this hook get in here? Because cognitively, I know that this is not right. This is not what's up. How is it getting in there? And it's like, oh, actually, there's some repair that I need to do in here, so that when that happens, it doesn't have anywhere to stick. There's no resonance in me that it can build off of. There's no food for it to eat here. And so it just goes. So all of that being said, I am going to invite you to find a place that's comfortable for your body. And that the most important thing for this particular type of practice is just that your body is comfortable. If you're lying down, if you're leaned, you can like maybe actually be hunched a little bit leaned to the side. I know I tend to have like some chronic tightness on my left side. So even if I kind of feel balanced, I'm actually often not totally balanced. And if I am totally balanced, I look a little off because my muscles aren't totally in alignment. But I know that about my body. So whatever that is for you. And you'll know because typically when we find a place of comfort and ease, our bodies breathe. We just naturally take a deep breath. And it's like, here. So to find that, you can like maybe move around if it feels not easy to find. And just the place where your body starts to breathe and pull in. Pause there. Let that be the resting place. And it's wonderful if you have a non-human animal companion to do that with. I had one of my dog friends visiting for the last few days, and sad that they're not here for this right now. And when you find that place, if it's comfortable, you can let your eyes close. And if it's not comfortable to do that, you can let them rest on something in the room gently. And if you can, notice where breath begins in your body. And if you can't notice immediately, get curious. And depending on what state we're in, sometimes the breath can feel like it almost starts in the mind. There can be some anxiety, worry that the next breath won't be there. And I invite you to notice that more often than not, we don't really breathe. Life breathes us. Pause, slow down. Listen. You may find that intersection place less. And so with that trust, with that knowing, that even as we move, you will be breathed. Life will breathe you. You're going to move the attention to the top of the crown, the vertical top of the body. And with that same awareness, the same knowing that nothing in you is wasted. Everything that you encounter has meaning, has something for you in it, even the discomfort. I'm just going to move down through the crown into the space of the skull, getting our intention. Move over the forehead and down the bridge of the nose, over the eyes. Just noticing. Is there tension? Is there some discomfort? We're not here to fix it. We're here to know that it is there and that is what it is. This time is just for awareness. We're going to let it continue to move through the muscles in the face. And past the mouth and the jaw. Into the neck. Down into the shoulders. Down the shoulders, into the arms. The elbows. Forearms and wrists, fingers. Noticing what we discover is there along the way. Moving down into the chest, into the torso, past the heart and the lungs and the diaphragm, into the belly, all the vital organs held there. Bringing that awareness down into the sit bones. And down the legs, into the thighs and the knees. Down the shins and calves to the ankles. Right down the toes, soles of the feet. I'm going to just take 5 to 10 breaths here. Now that our awareness has been expanded to all of these bits in us, all of these pieces that make up our wholeness. Be aware and let life breathe into all of it. And as we begin to transition out of this initial practice, this initial opening and start of the conversation, I invite you to offer something in the form of gratitude to this body. That may be a hand on the heart, or a hand to the belly, maybe a hand to the head. Could be the sending of warmth through intention. Could be words or sounds. All of it is welcome. I would invite you to hold this space for just a few moments more. And I want to share an idea, another way of being with the body while you continue to allow your body to be breathed. And it comes from a physician named Dr. Paul Bland. And studies that he did about the human relationship to pain, our relationship to physical suffering. And he worked in the field of epilepsy, not epilepsy, leprosy. And what he found, which was not commonly known or talked about at the time, was that leprosy was not the sores. The leprosy was not the visual evidence of wounds. Leprosy is actually a nervous system disorder that prevents the body from feeling pain. And as the result of being unable to feel pain, people were repeatedly hurting themselves. They could break their foot and keep walking on it because they weren't getting the message that something had gone wrong. And so they kept repeating behavior, deepening the wound, increasing their suffering. And for him, and for myself, the lesson in that is to appreciate our pain, appreciate those discomforts because they're telling you something. They have a purpose. It's information you are designed to have and to know. And with that in mind, I'm going to move through the body one more time. This time starting at the soles of the feet. And each and every time you encounter some kind of pain or discomfort, you can meet it with thank you for letting me know. Thank you for letting me know. And if there is a movement that goes with that, a reshifting, a resettling, to become aware of, help alleviate that pain, please do that. And so starting at the soles of the feet and moving through all the muscles, the toes, moving into the ankles, up the legs, the shins and the calves, into the knees, countering discomfort and pain, saying, thank you for letting me know. Thank you for deepening my wisdom. Continuing to move that awareness and gratitude up through the thighs, into the sit bones, into the belly, back, up into the diaphragm, lungs, the heart, shoulders. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know. Something needs to shift. When and where it does. And bringing that gratitude and awareness and acceptance to the arms, elbows, forearms, wrists and fingers. Thank you for letting me know. Moving that up through the neck, into the jaw, muscles in the mouth, muscles that wrap around the back of the skull, those tiny muscles in the face. Thank you for letting me know. Moving that awareness and gratitude back to where we started at the crown, the body. And we're going to take another 10 breaths here. And whatever shifting in the body needs to happen, need and integrate the new awareness, new understanding. In a moment, we're going to transition back into a different way of sharing space and time together. In a moment, we're going to open our eyes and get resettled in that space and in that way. But before we do that, offer one last dose just for this particular practice. It'll be the last of gratitude and thankfulness to this body. In all the ways it lets you be in the world. So I invite you to take 5 breaths. Blink the eyes open. Take a look around the space that you're in. If you're inside a room, try to catch all the corners. If you're outside, try to see if you can take in things from horizon to horizon, both sides of you. Catching that in the chat about how we can perceive pain, and then when we change our relationship to it, it could be something else entirely. That's amazing. Now also see, I'm sorry, Issa, I don't know how long you may have been in the waiting room because we were meditating and I had my eyes closed, so I don't know. But I do want to acknowledge that you are here. I see you. And yeah, we just did some body scanning as a place for grounding in visualization, like, because we don't want to get lost out there. You know, our body is our anchor in so many ways. And so being able to develop that relationship before we try to take a journey somewhere in it, before we try to expand and travel outside of it, is so important. And that piece that people shared often of like that it can be so uncomfortable to encounter what's in the body. And so that shift of seeing it as just information. It's just your body telling you something. There's no judgment of you. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken because you experience pain or discomfort. You're just learning things. Yeah, no worries, Issa. No worries at all. And so I want to open it up for if there's any sharing that wants to happen from that. And maybe for ease, you can raise your hand and let me know. Sorry, I always like want to try to get the experience of like being in a room and people are just, you know, there and can just talk because that's what we do. But yeah, can maybe raise your hand just to let us know that you are going to unmute yourself and talk. Thanks, Jan.
Yeah, I decided to lie down, and that felt really nourishing to give into that. Often my practice is like sitting or standing, and there's a certain subtle level of efforting in all of those things sometimes. So it felt really good to just give in to lying down. And there's something in the surrendering into the rest. And I also have this question that's in my consciousness around how my personal physical healing journey, like what's it showing me around the healing with the earth, the healing with each other, as being on a journey since last summer of experiencing a deep health crisis that kind of landed me in hard situations. And so I had that question going into it. And when I was lying there, I just noticed the part of my body that is still healing, that is in acute healing process, and is still has a literal wound that is trying to heal itself inside of me. And the ways that I sometimes want to look everywhere else except that spot inside my body. And the ways I've historically, with my body, you know, held that in, like, don't pay attention to that. It'll fix itself. Like, don't tell anybody, you know, don't. And I think lying there, it just, I could feel inside of me, it was like, yes, you know, visit me, you know, spend time with me, in terms of that part that is still healing. I think that's what was coming up for me, is just, you know, that part that is still healing wants the space to be attended to and listened to. And this desire to fix, and this desire to change it, or this fear that I won't know what to do, that I won't know how to heal it, that I won't know how to fix it, that I won't know how to change it. I think that sometimes gets me away from just being with the thing that is not yet resolved yet, the thing that is not yet healed. So that was part of my journey. Lying down was coming into contact with that part.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. There's so much in that. And I can't pull out everything. And we're starting to get towards the end of our time. There's never enough time for things like this. But the A piece of it that I really want to highlight is that part that you said of becoming aware that you wanted to look everywhere else but there, because that is going to be your starting point. That's the place to take those first steps, and to be really mindful, because sometimes we can, you know, go in with an energy of like, all right, we're just going to heal everything, and like, blah, get out of the way. It's like, and it can be not particularly gentle, even though our intention is gentle, or for gentleness there's some way we can like super effort our way into it that ends up not really serving us in the way that we want to. And so that's the part of it where it's like, I can't tell you where to go from there. That's the thing that you have to discover in the process. There's no way for me to know. I don't know your body. You will always be the expert on your own story. I can only ever kind of offer advice to it and see if it works for you. But because you know that, you can now go back in and ask the question in maybe a different way now that you know where some of those places are and say, well, what do you need? What do you need? And just listen to the answer. And it may not be a totally linear answer. It may be like, you need more cranberries. I don't know why that's exactly what you would need, but that may be what comes through. And it's not even about the cranberries. It's like somebody you meet at the store buying cranberries or something like that, but that it knows. It knows. And that's the road to follow for whatever your lane, whatever your vision is. And so I think we're not going to actually have as much time as I had hoped for me to lead you through more of like a visual one. But from what people were sharing, and I always try to work in this way, which is like, sure, I can have an agenda, but that's not going to be nearly as relevant as meeting people where they're at. And so from what I was hearing, I decided to spend more time in the body and building that anchor as the starting place for visualization before you go anywhere else. So just wanting to like honor that you may be like, well, this is not exactly what we said we were going to do. And that is true. And that is the reason why. I'm just catching some of the things in the chat right now. Okay, so I see. Is that a question, Amani? Or is that like a theoretical?
Oh, no, that's a theoretical. That was me agreeing with you and riffing.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. And I see what Uncle Don is saying about how the traditional like strategy of healing is that you go to somebody else and have them tell you what's wrong with you and then give you something to quote unquote fix it. And in my framework of healing, that is not at all how it works. So yeah. Yeah. Anyone else and something that they want to share from that? Lucas.
Yeah, thank you. I am grateful for being invited back into some deeper rest this evening, and holding that and seeing some of these some of the words that Amani put into the chat too, with that like the martyr energetics and whatnot, and there's this sense of like recognizing just how much of a body has been in some state of just reactivity for as long as I can almost remember in some way, even the times that it feels like it's wanting to use movement, but using movement as this like aggressive reactive state to work out the energy that is in reactive to something else that is like felt like a violation or working with pain or painful environments, and to where like it felt like it's inviting in like a deeper listening to what truly is really needed and how to tend to that part before some decision making based on some other energetic starts evolving or like taking form in the shape of like choices and decision makings and whatnot. And so and that sense of like where listening as to what is needed, it sometimes finds this place of a sense of a conflict of always like desiring the peace, right? They're desiring the equanimity and the health, and then feeling a responsibility towards environments or conditions that aren't in that state or don't have that kind of have a lot of violation happening, and that sense of like, oh, do I need to respond, to be present, to be supporting, and recognizing that it is like usually in contrast towards like a state of health. In many ways you're choosing to put yourself maybe in difficult conditions or more challenging conditions. And so it I'm just trying to open up a sense of understanding about what's motivating like a body and what's motivating in and what's really needed, and like recognizing can the body get my body even to a state of truly acknowledging what is actually what's really needed, versus still in a conditioned kind of reactive state, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think about like taking Tai Chi and having a teacher who's been doing it for like 50 years and just her reflecting that she's always learning something different about her body. She's like, it doesn't even matter what I think I know, and I can still know a lot. And it doesn't mean that I know everything. And so just like staying open in that space of curiosity. And again, like going back into some of the nerdiness of like what's actually happening neurologically. When we're curious, and that's part of what's happening when we are in this space of finding out. So it's like, that's why I start with like, just go through and notice. Just be curious of what's happening before you try to do anything about it. Because in my experience, very often it's like, well, we're just going to come in and it's just, we're going to bathe it in golden light and that's just going to fix everything and then we're done. And it's like, well, no, in my experience, it actually doesn't work that way. And also, is that really paradigm shifting? Is that really changing the process of how we're engaging? And it's not. And part of that is actually a trauma response, to just be like, just try to get it done, just try to fix it, just try to make it stop, rather than really getting curious about what started it in the first place. And this is part of how we end up with patches on things. We don't really get to root solutions because let's put a patch on it, you know? And so, yeah, thank you for bringing that in. And in the last just like few minutes, I would actually love to wrap you in somewhat, Isa, and just hear your name, pronoun preference, where you're coming from, and we all checked in with a body movement. And yeah, I think anything else, if you have like a few words that would help you feel grounded and settled in this place.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Isa. I use she, her pronouns. And sorry, would you remind me of that, the first question that you had?
Where are you coming from?
Yeah, coming from Durham, North Carolina. Oh, thank you. Body movements and a few words. Thanks. My body movement is this. And I actually had a part of the reason why I was late this evening is because I'm working with a healer where we went through a very long visualization, and instead of getting to the thing that we were going to do, we spent the whole time grounding. And so in catching a little bit of this, I think it sounds like it was a similar experience. So yeah, that was powerful for me to just really sink back into the slowness of getting to know what's going on in the body before even really trying to know what it is that I am addressing in the first place. Sometimes it just, what needs to be done is the listening. So
Thank you. I'm gonna just share like a true story from my life before we close out, and do a little bit of closing circle. So I shared once about, just being triggered by quote unquote traditional mindfulness practices that were really rough for me, and not having those spaces to kind of like shift if I needed to. I don't know if anybody's ever done the Vipassana, but they're like, no, you sit there, you don't move. You get a stool at the beginning of it, you get your blanket at the beginning of it, and that's it. for the next however many hours. You're just like, this is where I am. And so for me, moving away from strategies like that, even though it was also a beautiful experience in its own right. So I don't want to diss it. It's just, you know, different strokes for different folks. And that wasn't the pool for me. But the place that I really found this to be the most transformative is that for myself, I have throughout my life had really awful menstrual cycles, like just was essentially paralyzed once a month by pain and couldn't eat, really couldn't walk, was just like not a functional human. And I see some nods that other people may understand how that experience. And at some point, I guess it was like mid, late 20s, and I had started working through other parts of trauma and healing myself and just like starting a journey. And I was like, you know what? I just need to like lie down, because my primary strategy as a teenager was like I would just take bottles and bottles of Aleve and painkillers, right? So with that leprosy thing, I was like, I just want to stop feeling the pain. I didn't care what was starting it. I just wanted the pain to stop. And at some point, I cleared out enough of that other stuff in my head to be like, wait, why is this even happening? And it took me years to encounter people and actually believe them that this was not just happening to everyone with a uterus, and that some people were actually having relatively easeful experiences. I honestly just thought they were lying as a result of patriarchy, and they just didn't want to admit how much pain they were in. So I was not a believer. And I realized that actually, no, those people, it's not that bad for them. It's something else is possible. And so trying to close the gap between where I was and that experience was, I committed to just lying down each time it would come around in the month. And I would basically just lie in like corpse pose meditation for like 3 days with my hands on my belly and just no painkillers, nothing to dull it, just like water and time, and just sit with all of it. Like, all right, body, you clearly have something to say. What are you trying to say to me? And it was incredible because at first it was just nothing, just like pain, just pain, waves and waves of pain. But eventually I started to get fluent in the pain. And it was like, oh, this is coming from this place. So maybe if I shift this over here, that will loosen something up, open up some space. And I started to like actually really hear my body. And like my body loved warmth. It was like where my hands could transmit warmth. It was just like, oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Your body needs so much more of this. You don't have enough of this. I was like, oh yeah. And I could see that in my life. I didn't grow up in a touchy, affectionate family. That's not, my body has not typically received that kind of care. And I was like, oh, this is what happens. This is how it accumulates. And this is part of that. I see. And just doing that like month after month after month. And a couple of years, and it took a couple of years. It was not a fast process. But something that felt actually insane happened where I got hungry one day. I got hungry, and it was the first time in my life I had ever actually, like Imani, where you started, it was like, I couldn't even desire something healthy for myself from the amount of pain I was in. I couldn't think about food or anything like that. But eventually, when I got enough of the other pain cleared up, it was like, go eat pomegranates. And then so that became my practice. And I would go get pomegranate before it started. I knew it was coming. And then I would sit with a pomegranate and eat it, just arrow by arrow. And that's what I would do for a few days. And later, I found out that pomegranate is like full of B12 vitamins. Those are really good for muscle relaxation, right? I didn't know any of that intellectually. It was all pure. The body told me, go do this. I listened. It had what I needed. And that just continued. And I like built a whole diet that I follow now. I have like all of these practices. And it's amazing. I mean, I eat, I do things. I'm like cognitively functional. It's been a complete 180 transformational experience that completely started with me just lying down and saying, body, what do you need? I realize I haven't been listening, and that's my bad. I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to listen. What do you need from me? So really wanting to just like, again, ground this and like, when you have those times that you're like, what am I doing? Does any of this matter? Could any of this possibly work and add up to this? That it can. My experience says that it can. So with that, I want to also, even though, we Greco-Roman calendar does not run everything, I do want to honor people's time, and especially knowing that some people are in a different time zone might be getting towards bedtime and wanting to give you space for rest. I would like to just go around and sort of close out with a movement and maybe like 1 to 3 words for how you are right now. You can do 1 to 3 sentences. Yeah, maybe 1 to 3 sentences. And then we'll pass it to the next person. So I'm not going to start, actually. I'm just going to pass it. And pass it to Brooke.
I'm feeling very grateful for that last story. And that, like, I read this book recently about like having a ritual or sacred relationship to pain. And what you just shared really feels resonant with that. So thank you.
You have a body movement for us?
Yeah. And I'll pass it to Joanne.
My words, like I don't feel sentences right now, but I feel held. I feel love, hope as a movement. It feels like this, like bringing in, like something like that. And thank you so much. I will pass it over to Uncle Don.
I was just having a joyful kettle with my cat. I'm feeling really grateful for the sharing that we've had in this group, and that we've bridged some space between strangers here. Thank you all.
Can we have a body movement? And if you don't have one, it's okay.
What I was doing with my cat.
Tap our next person, please. Can you tap our next person?
Lisa.
I feel inspired and grounded in the possibility of being grounded. How thrilling it is to be with people from all over. Thank you.
Do you have a movement?
Oh, movement. So Isa?
I'm grateful to be here, grateful for you looping me in and yeah, keeping me posted at the end. And yeah, just feeling a lot of good energy and inspiration and motivation for tuning into the body more. And so my movement is and next we'll have Maya.
Hi, friends. I am grateful for community and learning about listening to your pain. And I was thinking of doing the same body movement Lisa had of your hand over your heart, but we've done that one and I thought it was important. So let's do a symbolic listening. We'll put our hands over our ears and listen to what's inside our heads. And I will tell me how to pronounce your name better if I'm not doing it right, but I will call on James Amutabe.
Yeah, feeling a lot of gratitude, and I really appreciate that in the listening, in this practice that is meant to be a visualization, the landing in the listening, that we stayed in the listening, and that's the anchor. And the body movement, maybe I'll just open and close my eyes a few times. I do not remember your name. On the screen it says yes certifications, and so I'll go that way.
Jasmine.
Yeah, no problem. So I'm gonna say after this, I definitely feel tuned in. I feel like following the least path of resistance would be a good thing I'm taking away with it, and my emotion would definitely be just like flowing, just letting it flow. And thank you so much, Jahan. You did a very good job.
Oh, thanks. Like tone shift, but that just had a moment of like clueless and like rolling with the homies with that. Just roll through my head. Thank you. Lucas, did you share? Have you checked out? I didn't think so.
I'll take that as a cue to share.
Yes.
I'm really grateful for your offering this evening, and the cadence feels really nourishing, and the storytelling and sharing. I'm really appreciative of that. So thank you for that wisdom. And I started imagining Uncle Don for movement just to be the cat, and we'll just pet ourselves like the cats in our feline nature, and you can purr if you need to purr. So that grooming. And with that, I think I'll pass to Jahan. Did you share? Yeah. Okay, pass to you.
The mantra that keeps resonating for me is the intelligence and wisdom and the unacknowledged parts of us and the unacknowledged parts outside us. So the wisdom and intelligence and the unacknowledged parts. And I think my movement is like a kind of bathing ritual. Yeah, thank you for this space, everybody. Amani, I think, have you shared to close out yet? I don't believe so. Beautiful.
I feel in pain and in love with.
You just froze.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes. But it's, yeah, I think it's still
About now?
better. Yes.
Yeah? Can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I feel in pain and I feel in love with the pain. And I feel, go back to, I think it was Jahan's initial, like the circle and then this thing, and it feels like us, like we have all circled around kind of pain as an energetic phenomena, and it's getting to be witnessed and held, and it's transforming in being witnessed and in witnessing its impact on us. And I'm like seeing the whole world having that experience as well, and seeing that as a like pertinent, essential strategy for our visualization of moving. The teaching here, like first, are them before even creating a vision for what else.
I think I got most of that. It kind of dropped out in the middle, but that is, you can correct me if I misstate this, but that you're appreciating the acknowledging of the pain as a part of the visualization itself. That
An essential teaching for this world right now of like, as we're in so much pain and looking for ways to move forward together or for ourselves, that this is like, oh, actually, go gather the unacknowledged parts first. The vision isn't there and you can't get to it until you go there.
yes. And that is so much of, again, it's like how I see even what I can offer. And it's, of course, it's always a journey to learn these things, but it's that piece of like, I can't do it for anyone else. It's not within my power. That's not my lane. The only thing that I can do is like offer what I know, offer my experience, and hopefully remove the obstacles through that of what is impairing that capacity for the vision. And so it's like with this, and even with like counseling, coaching, and nonprofit consulting work, that's really so much of what it is. It's like once you bring the awareness to it and you have the intention to like make good on that, you can't help but change it. It just, again, we're made for this. This is the way we're naturally designed, is to want to be life-serving and to do what we can in support of that, which is part of what awareness is so important in any of it. So thank you for like stating that clearly. I feel like that was like implicit in what was happening, but I hadn't fully articulated it. Yeah, like everyone else, gratitude. I really appreciate the willingness of people to go on the journey, because it's like I can set a container, but whatever medicine and alchemy comes of it is what people bring and put into it. So thank you all for that willingness and your vulnerability and courage and trust in taking that journey. I don't take that lightly at all. So thank you for that. And also thank you for the hope, because I am still, I think, learning to accept that I'm one of those people who kind of perpetually dissatisfied, because I believe that we can be doing so much better than we are. And these are the counterbalances to my experience of that in the world, is encountering the people and the places that let me feel like really grounded hope, not that kind of like, the universe is love and like, we'll get there because it's love, but like, no, we'll get there because people choose to. You got to choose it. So thank you for choosing it. Yeah. And I hope you enjoy the rest of whatever your Sunday is. And I hope to see you later on in the dream. Yeah, Mani, Amu, is there anything that you want to wrap up the space with in terms of the larger offering? Okay.
Yeah, thank you all so much for coming. It's really beautiful to see this like student body take form. Thank you so much, Jahan. It was exactly what I know I needed for this Sunday. Just so you all know, tomorrow there is another teaching that starts at 4 with Diana Yadalahi, and it's going to be on access. And so we'll be asking questions about like our access needs, as well as we will have our first podcast. And it will be a synthesis of this whole month's teachings and some reflections and asking and answering questions. And so you all are like, again, welcome to come and kick it with us here at the Hood Hippie Universe. And we will be jumping into the first trimester starting on the full moon. And so if y'all want to come register and come kick it even more, please do that. There'll always be free offerings in the EAT space as well. And so, yeah, thank you all for being here and for staying longer. Yeah, hope everybody has a beautiful, beautiful night. Mm-hmm.
Hey, last practice. If you just everybody unmute and just say bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
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 A wonderful, nourishing rest, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, y'all too. Good night.
Blessings.
Good night.
Blessed be.
Same to you. Ashe.
Thank y'all.
Did it.
Yeah, that was so beautiful. Thank you.
I'm glad. Always glad when it works.
Reclaiming
The
hope.
food.
Food, yeah, I need some food too.
Food. And just because I saw a hand reach in there a few times, say hi, Sidika, over there in the corner somewhere.
Oh, really?
Bringing drinks.
Okay.
Oh, what, at Jahan's?
No.
They're in Vallejo.
Me just
money. Okay. Love y'all. I'll see y'all later.
Love you too. Bye.
Love y'all. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Yee, that was amazing. Oh.